Hey everyone, Kuro the Artist here. We made it, folks, the halfway point of Ben 10 Omniverse. 40 episodes down, 40 episodes to go, but after that last one, my standards are low. But thankfully, I find this episode much better than its predecessor, and it lands the whole Albedo story arc on a satisfying note. This episode manages to do the opposite of what we're used to with story arcs in Ben 10. Most of the time, the arcs are packed with action, unforgettable scenes, amazing and fresh new ideas, but the endings never quite feel as satisfying. Whereas this arc started pretty slow, dragged hard in the middle, but here at the end exploded with mind-boggling new additions and surprises. We had new ultimate aliens that were never shown in the previous series, an ultimate Nemetrix predator, the unexpected return of Peskydas with one of the most unique powers in Ben's arsenal, and capping things off, the grand reveal of Atomics, a transformation that existed in name only, but cultivated years of hype by the simple spark of Ben's future son's excitement to use him.
Way big, diamond head, ooh, Atomics, yeah!
For a story arc finale, this one really did pull through. Very entertaining, very memorable, but as for the plot, I guess you'll find out during the breakdown. But I can at least say I enjoyed it a lot more than the last one. Which, speaking of, I plan to do that breakdown with a passive rewrite, which would be interwoven throughout the regular breakdown commentary, pitching my idea that the arc would have worked better if Albedo teamed up with 13 rather than Kyber, and then replacing Kyber's Primus by officially revealing the planet of the Weapon Masters of Tekadon. But I was so distracted by, well, everything that I completely forgot to bring it up. Before y'all ask me to do a separate video on this rewrite idea, I am once again informing you that we are planning to do another upload hiatus. Alright, now I know how that sounds, because we've mentioned quite a few times this year that we were going on hiatus. But if you look back and check out our upload track record this year, it never actually happened. This year alone, we put out 25 breakdowns, 5 episodes of 5YL, 3 episodes of And Beyond, 4 Drawing Matrix, Froze new series, 14 single topic videos, over 40 commissions and doodle streams, special live streams, 9 shorts, 24 Patreon membership streams with 26 video diary entries, extra stuff on the Rust Bucket, dozens of collabs, and you see where I'm getting at. Every time we try to take a hiatus, for one reason or another, it never ends up happening. The reasons vary widely, but the point is, we never actually got around to taking our hiatus. We want to take a month or two off of uploads in order to fully focus on the final episodes of 5YL and Beyond, which will mark an end of an era for the Ink Tank. And as much as I can help it, this hiatus is actually happening. I'll still keep streaming drawing with Kuro though. But in the meantime, I think this is the perfect opportunity for another Break the Breakdown event. Do you disagree with any of my previous ratings? Have I ever mixed up any of the counters? I know the answer is yes, but I really need y'all to remind me. Is there anything I've said that you want more clarification on? Check out this video, which I'm linking down below, to get involved with this wave of Break the Breakdown. You have to comment on this video in order to get involved though. The comments down here don't count. And the keychain doodle giveaway contest is still running. But now, on to the episode. Matt Wayne on November 30th, 2013 gave us the conclusion of season 4 with For a Few Brains More. Albedo reveals his grand plan to absorb Azimuth's brain for himself, combining their intelligences so that he can reshape the universe. In an effort to stop him, Kevin, Gwendolyn, and Zed join the battle as all of them face off in Billion's tower to stop Ultimate Albedo from permanently stealing Azimuth's intelligence.
Albedo!
We don't get to hear Ben say previously on Ben 10 Omniverse.
Previously on Ben 10.
Previously on Ben 10 Alien Force. Previously on Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. Those sounds you thought you heard.
You don't think I took precautions to prevent you?
Where? How did I?
This version's also using the corrected color export of this episode rather than the version that was broadcasted the most. And I feel like there needs to be a space right here for Ben 10. And last bit of analysis, these shots are reversed. In the episode, we saw this shot, then this shot.
Albedo! Albedo!
Cutting from this shot of Kyber's ship flying off to the proto truck flying towards them, you'd almost think these are the same ship, and this is the same journey.
Show them why it is they who have lost.
Did you see how this recap showed pretty much nothing that happened in the last episode? Just the very beginning and very end? Yeah, it says a lot, doesn't it? In fact, sometimes the recaps take up the whole teaser. Now we're even showing new footage before we get to the theme song.
Stay back.
Another crazy thing about Galvan sizes, so we know that Albedo's base form is bigger than Azimuth's, but here his ultimate form is so much smaller than base Azimuth. I feel like I gotta put my comments on Galvan sizes to rest. So come on, bring up the shot of gray matter again. It's like, how did we get here?
Albedo.
This is just the sort of thing that got you fired.
Yeah, the last time they did this, Albedo didn't give Azimuth the safe word and he was stuck here for 4 days.
Galvan wouldn't hold up to any rough play.
Pretty sure Azimuth's sleeves are supposed to be black right here too. Actually, wait, you know what? Hold on. How is he ultimate albedo right now? Wasn't he just in Rook's hands being held like this? This is literally the same scene, right? Here's the recap. Here's albedo right here. We come back in and he's already free, transformed, and across the room. A lot of little nitpicks to start off with, but I still have faith this episode's gonna be better than the last one.
The smartest guy in the galaxy must have 1,000
Contingency plans? Who has time to worry about nonsense?
See, look how tiny his freaking head is. Also, the line coming from him is especially weird because
I was smart enough to prepare for that contingency, and this one too.
granted, that episode does come later, so maybe he started listening to Ben like, I do need contingency plans. Or he's just pissed off right now. You know, he is Azimuth.
Extricate me!
Is this wrecked proto truck in CG? Usually with this type of damage, they draw it. Ooh. So he was able to command one Penuncian while using the other to guard him, and then that one splits into 3. You gotta wonder how he's able to do that with such perfect pitches. I've talked a little bit about this before, but I imagine to the animals, both Zed and the Penuncian, that these pitches don't sound exactly the same to them. They're able to hear like the minor frequencies in between them to know what whistles equal what commands. Can you imagine if they just bit his face off right now?
I know you're wondering why I've brought you here.
The sizing's a little better.
If you're going to go into detail, for goodness sake, be brief.
One thing I do really like about Omniverse is even with the slightest color tones, they still put a lot of thought into them. Because they're both Galvin, so they're both reasonably gray, but you can tell Azimuth is more green tinted while Albedo is more red tinted. It's not super noticeable, but it's there. They match each other's color scheme. Whereas if they were both pure gray, they would look just slightly duller. The colors tinted into even the lowest saturated selections in their character design really makes a difference.
I shall drain off Azimuth's mental abilities and use them to augment my own.
This ties a little bit into my frustrations with the whole power dampening stuff from Escape from Agrigor, where the natural abilities of a being is treated like a power. So draining the mental abilities of a Galvin. At this point in the show, we can kind of just be like, all right, whatever, that's just the science of Ben 10. But still, draining brain power?
With my hyper-evolved brain combined with Azimuth,
You'll be about as smart as Azimuth.
I love that quip right there. Were Azimuth's eyelids always this color in Omniverse? Don't let him steal his brain just because he's gone insane, Ben 10.
Hello? Is anybody out there?
So this is supposed to be Azimuth's brain or brain power. We can also just accept this is a science we don't understand because it's Galvin's and whatnot. And I'm not sure if this is exclusive to Azimuth or not, but he's so smart that his thoughts, even detached from his body, are being projected out of this sphere of intellectual consciousness as a way to keep Azimuth as his character while also allowing his body to become perceptively repressed, in layman's terms, stupid.
Watch as I make Azimuth's intelligence mine.
Do you eat it? Hell, I'd eat it. You gotta have the tongue out to show somebody's a dimwit. Rook kicks this Penuncian off of him, grabs him by the tail, lifts him up with his massive Ravonagander strength, and whips him around, knocking back the other 2 Penuncians. They ain't shit. With Max's whole mechanical arsenal strapped to him, why didn't he do anything? What's this stuff even do? Pretty nice morph. Off to a good start.
Kyber, the brain!
So it's also treated like a physical object too. Rolls across Terra spin, Max is able to catch it in his hands. What do you think it feels like? I imagine like warm glass. Ben just put him in his mouth. Now, I don't think Omniverse needs to follow the same rules as UA, where you need to go back to the base alien from the Ultimate, or if they do, they probably ignored a ton, also like UA. So going from Ultimate Albedo to Artiguana, it happened so quick you might forget that that was supposed to be a rule. But this was an excellent treat to see. Also confirms that Ben had Artiguana during the UAF era, since Albedo's aliens are allegedly limited to what Ben had at the time. It gets a little murky when you start dissecting it, but still, you wouldn't expect him to use this. You'd think it would just be the standard, like, Humongosaur. Flying around, hovering by shooting things out of his mouth. What if Ben transformed back to human with Azimuth still in his mouth? You know, I just said I'm going to stop talking about Galvin sizes, but look, even in this shot, look at the size of Azimuth here. See it? Boom! I'm not even bothered at this point, I'm just fascinated this keeps happening. His waistband is tinted the same color as his skin rather than the actual metal color of his outfit. I imagine Renee probably had a lot of fun voicing Azimuth this time around.
You pull my finger.
This is kind of like the Noah's Ark line in Alien Force, where it's like, how does Azimuth know about this little trope that humans do? Maybe he just really likes humans and studies them in his spare time. Probably how he found about Old George.
That's not Azimuth talking.
It kind of is, but...
Galvins have a secondary brain that handles basic bodily functions.
was super unexpected though, and it happened so casually too. And you don't even get the full design in frame yet, but boom, brand new ultimate. We get ultimate Arctic Iguana. I remember when I first saw this, I was actually a little bit miffed, because despite what 5YL has evolved into in recent years, it's far from my first attempt at writing a Ben 10 fanfic.
You might say, I've been doing this all my lives.
And I used to have this one where I wanted to introduce new ultimates. I was like, what ultimate do I feel like we're never, ever, ever going to get? Because I want to do something special and surprise people with it. And I thought, ultimate Arctic Iguana, isn't that so strange? So crazy of an idea. And then I see the show and they bust out an ultimate Arctic Iguana, and I was like, you know what? Touche. So I'm not the only one that thinks it. Although I'm not gonna lie, mine was so much lamer. I might try to find it and post it, but he pretty much just looked like that Mr. T XP character from Jimmy Neutron. Biped and all. I don't know what I was thinking. It was really bad. This one is so much cooler. And I feel like he's one of the ones that does look like a true evolution of the species. I would love to see Ben's version of it.
Give me that brain!
You hear that too? It's kind of mechanical.
Give me that brain!
That's an interesting voice too. Who does it? Eric Bauza, who also voices base form Arctic Iguana, so that makes sense. So you see them shoot out some beams, but then they come down as these giant ice sculpture looking crystals. He has such a small appearance in the show, it's hard to tell what Ultimate Arctic Iguana can do beyond base form Arctic Iguana, because Omniverse Arctic Iguana can actually do some pretty crazy stuff. He's got some fantastic scenes. So while Arctic Iguana might not be able to do something like this specifically, it's just not as impressive, since we've seen him create ice constructs and stuff before. But it's still neat. I mean, the design more than makes up for it. Okay, I mean, that worked. Throws Azimuth at the door to shut it. You know, that's actually pretty good aiming too. And in human form, that basic training episode was whack. Ben does have good aim, but damn, did he really have to throw Azimuth? Why couldn't he throw the brain?
Azimuth is beating his head against a wall.
Well, you did just throw him against one, so maybe he's addicted to the pain. You know, something about whatever him and Albedo were up to back in the day.
Think he's trying to tell us something?
I forgot they showed this planet again after that episode.
Maybe he knows how to rebrain himself.
But that would involve a contingency.
I'll set him next to this lab stuff and see what he does.
Good thinking on Ben's part. It's worth a shot.
Self-destruct sequence armed.
Do not press anything!
He's still in the call? There's the hole that Ben made as Astrodactyl earlier. The hole was able to exist last episode while still projecting the sky. Here it seems the sky effects were turned off. And going from ultimate to ultimate. Bye, Ultimate Arctic Iguana. Though this time we don't see the morph. It's covered by turning into a red silhouette. I wonder if underneath these layers they did draw the morph. I always wonder that. Like, how do they do the silhouette effect? Are they purposefully not showing the detail? God, that's gotta feel weird. He's grabbing him by the brain. They're growing. They're straight up growing. By the end of this episode, Azimuth is gonna be as tall as Ben.
It wasn't me! It was Azimuth!
He's right.
While you were supervising him.
How would anybody know that this would set off the self-destruct? Ben gets himself into a lot of shit, sure, but this one really shouldn't be on him. Did Rook's truck just go from 0 to hyperspace? Holy shit. Even Rad, who's supposed to be one of the best pilots, needed some type of hyperspace jump portal or something. And they're back instantly. Why did they hire Rad?
Magister Tennyson said our pilot is the best in the business. Besides the fact that it is located deep within Incursion Empire space, the lovely duck would be perfect for our needs.
Maybe it couldn't do it at the time, but I mean, at this point forward, they'll never need Rad again.
Since my mind has been offline for some time, I assume that Ben Tennyson is trying to build a cerebral vortex to restore me.
That's still pretty crazy that it can talk. And I don't think Azimuth assumed Ben was doing that. I feel like he's being a bit snarky here.
Let me walk you through the procedure. You'll need... Write this down, it's critical.
I love that line where he's like, write it down. But of course, Ben's not.
Do you need a pen?
It's just Azimuth's usual blah, blah, blah.
Oh, that's so frustrating. Ah.
But this guy, I could sit down and have a smoothie with him.
Can't say beer.
Astrodactyl.
Once again, Ben flings Azimuth across the room. This shot's very similar to the forearm shot in Kevin 11. He smacks his own stomach to create his own momentum and uses that acceleration to turn it into a rotation. Pretty creative. This is why Ben has the Omnitrix.
Focusing the tractor beam.
It's so weird seeing Ultimate Albedo standing and using his feet. Wait, hold on. How did Kyber's ship even get here too? Did Kyber's ship also enter hyperspace? And this tractor beam acts like a lasso, like an energy construct. I imagine Kyber uses this to help aid him in capturing predators and other trophies and whatnot. Well, that didn't work. Sure wish he was able to change form.
We are dead in the water.
For real though, like how did Kyber get here? We even saw right here the proto truck enters hyperspace and disappears, but Kyber's ship flies right after it the long way around. Was he supposed to also enter hyperspace? Because he got here super quick. Though they did say that Kyber's ship is incredibly fast.
That is 41 light years away from Earth. Impressive propulsion system.
In a way, they did sort of set that up already, but still, hyperspace is a whole other level, or at least it should be.
Tick-tock, Rook! What is that? You know, the sound a clock makes?
You know, at this point, that might even be lost for people right here on Earth. Everything's super digital. There really is going to be a world someday where tick-tock being for a clock is gonna make no sense to the kids growing up.
I have never heard a clock make that noise.
Says every kid in the year 2332.
Miss Tennyson!
Kevin?
Now here comes the Rust Bucket 3 in Omniverse. Similar to Kevin's car, where the blue one is objectively more original and unique compared to the standard green one in UAF, I am much more attached to the green spaceship in UAF than this one, though I have to give incredible credit to the Rust Bucket 3 in Omniverse. For one, it does slightly resemble the Rust Bucket. I think that's one of the endless brilliant decisions the show makes for its art style. And the wing shape is very unique too. When you put the two side by side, it's a no-brainer which one looks cooler and has a lot more thought put into the design and really stands out. But every time I see that green ship fly on screen, you know, I feel a little something that this one doesn't give me. Nostalgia, call it whatever you want, that's just how I feel. But I can't deny the Rust Bucket 3 in Omniverse looks fucking sick.
We just happen to be in the neighborhood.
Of course you do, it's a season finale. Aside from season 1, they've shown up for every season finale, but that's not a complaint at all. Gwen and Kevin in Omniverse is always welcome. And look who they got with them, Zed. Now Zed was adopted by Kevin at the end of season 2, but it took a long time for her to actually show up, even in episodes where it would make sense for her to be there, because now she's Kevin's dog. She's gonna be with Kevin for the whole time. It's kind of like what they did with Julie and Ship. Like, they set Ship up to be part of the cast, then Ship is just not there for a long time, but then eventually Ship becomes inseparable with Julie. I guess it's just tricky to have characters have pets in the show. Now that she's with Kevin, she becomes a lot more dog-like and has multiple canine traits that Kyber, I guess, didn't allow her to have. She was very much just a hunting tool. Kevin lets her be her own thing.
It's hard to book time on the school's telescope. Astronomy paper.
So there is another reason why they're here. In space, Gwen's doing research for school, so they're like, let's just fly up to space. Because they're cool like that. You know, Kevin and Gwen are just, they're fucking cool. Again, with the grabbing him by the brain, Kyber. All three ships are burning up in the atmosphere.
We will retrieve the brain sphere from the wreckage.
Damn, that ship has been through so much these past two stories. That landing animation was a little fast for the size, but it's nice to see that the Rust Bucket 3, I think, is still supposed to be like the Rust Bucket 3 from Ultimate Alien. You can see the entrance opens itself up very similarly. It could be an art style thing, it could be an ILR recreating the universe thing. Thinking about it now, it kind of would be neat if they made it the Rust Bucket 4, just because it is so different, and you know, why not? Let the green ship be the green ship. They didn't change Kevin's car until later. Give us a Rust Bucket 4, fuck it. Now, I wouldn't say this is a mistransformation, especially because we can't prove it, but it is an odd choice to be Gravitac to survive this crash. But he's certainly durable enough to. And this is one of those episodes where they treat Gravitac as having a very large stature, as opposed to being like 7 to 10 feet tall. Sizing, man. The water contact animation with them is done pretty well.
Daddy?
No, Azimuth, goon time is later.
The brain sphere, Tennyson.
Oh, you mean the Chaos Emeralds?
It's a big Ben cell phone moment because we saw him put that in his pocket in human form, but now he's an alien. This is a weird rippling effect for Albedo being controlled by Gravitac. Maybe this is him fighting back, like these ripples are supposed to be resisting the gravikinesis. Also, I think this is the same shipyard where he fought Fistrick, aka where he first unlocked Gravitac. But in the sky, you do see them flying towards the dock, so I'm gonna imagine it is.
My weakness, it's small knives.
Nice little shift into Gravitac's ball form. Always love that part too. While he's getting spun around, Albedo switches into Armadillo, which if you see right here, this actually kind of looks better to me. OV usually does a really good job translating Ben's aliens to Albedo colors. They look a lot more sickly and stuff, but I feel like the red Armadillo, it just doesn't look good to me. Let me know if I'm in the minority here. He would have looked better with the sickly yellow color, like what they do for all the other aliens, rather than straight up turning him red. Or bare minimum, like right here, this frame where he's got a gray top for a second, that looks miles better to me. Red Armadillo, it doesn't look good to me, and it doesn't make sense based on how they color the other aliens. They don't just make them red, they make them desaturated. Oh my god. That's so close. He almost got his guts fucking drilled. Azimuth would be jealous. Gravitack having another really cool transformation. So we go from Armadillo to Gravitack. Very nice seamless morph. These two designs work well together. Like the lines on the claws lining up to the lines on Gravitack. This split happening down the middle here. But then once he is Gravitack, he continues to transform and we get our second crazy surprise of the episode. Here it is done more dramatically than Ultimate Artiguana. But see these little guys shoot off? These little Gravitack looking drones, which Derek says was inspired by Pokemon coughing. You could do the Doofenshmirtz nickel joke about coughing once we get to Gut Rot too. Then he opens his mouth as the spikes on him are growing longer, they're elongating. He also looks like a perfect evolution of Gravitack.
Let's see how you like it.
I would have gone with a different voice for him though. Maybe something like...
Let's see how you like it.
Just a quick edit. Something like that, I guess.
Let's see how you like it.
Let's see how you like it.
But it's also really cool to have Ben use an alien, then Albedo become that alien right after him, and then turn into the ultimate one. I think this also might be where they fought Big Trombipulor too.
Mommy?
Someone's gotta get this man a cold shower. You can see Zed now has her own collar here. Looks like a dog bone. It's very cute. I think it would have been really neat if Kevin gave her his locket. Kevin takes this off and gives it to her for her to wear.
You don't feed your pets much, huh?
And Kevin now absorbs the rust bucket, getting these cool little orange accents from the ship. Fantastic detail.
You don't feed your pets much, huh?
And the first thing Kevin does is call Kyber out for being a shitty dog owner. Gotta love it. That's a lot of Greg Sipes seeping into the character, but it's also good for Kevin as a character himself. Look how stretchy this mallet morph is too. Bladoop.
If you feed him, you'll dull his hunting instinct.
What an asshole.
Zed's a girl.
Oh no. Has Ben 10 gone woke? Kyber is always getting shit on. Greatest huntsman ever, everybody. And Zed's like, yeah, get him. Another fun side tangent fact. When we recorded Paul Eiting for both Max and Buck Wild in 5YL, we also had him do a whole bunch of dog sounds for Zed, and he was going to reprise his role as Zed as well. But we didn't get the takes I was looking for at the time. And plus it would have spoiled that we got Paul Eiting before you actually hear him as Grandpa Max, because we'd have to credit him as Zed. But regardless, I don't know. I feel like it works in Omniverse, but in the motion comic, it didn't sound as right. Maybe we just didn't have the right filters or whatever. Oh, sick combo. Dogfight.
Finally.
Once he gets the brain and it starts looping around Ultimate Gravitack, it creates this green trail around him. That looks awesome. Fantastic transformation. Gravitack was already one of my favorites in Omniverse, but Ultimate Gravitack, probably one of my favorite Ultimates too. I kind of wish these little things did something though. The little Gravitack faces, I don't care for them just because, you know, they're just there, but maybe if they did something, I'd like them a little more.
Stop fucking with my microphone, Bruce.
Penuncian splits into 3 just to run away. Look at it, Zed's got him on the ropes. Good girl. Yeah, Ditto's Predator really ain't shit.
Is there anything he can play with besides my glasses?
I'd say just let him have it. You went 3 series without him. What are they, reading glasses? Magic glasses? You don't need them.
I will not be caged like an animal.
Easily defeated he is too, man. Fuck this guy.
You think this is bad?
You think that's bad?
Oh yeah, I forgot that fucking it can do that. Don't want to try that whole using all 10 predators at once thing again, Kyber? You don't think that was useful? Man, we're never gonna get Merc Up Chuck again, huh? I probably said everything I could say here about this before with Upchuck's other appearances, but fuck man, why did they have to ruin his powers?
Oh no! An ultimate Penuncian.
Now when I first saw this one, because A, you didn't see it transform, all of these like rips and markings were because it was digested in Albedo's stomach. I didn't realize this was just Ultimate Penuncian.
See how you do against an ultimate Penuncian.
But also covered in the goop too. This is one hell of a way to reveal a new design. But also really cool, an Ultimate Nemetrix Predator. They're really playing with all of the ultimate features with Albedo. I love the creativity. Now the design, out of all the ultimates revealed in this episode for the first time, it's probably the weakest one, but it doesn't really need to be anything spectacular. It's Kyber's Penuncian. It does look pretty sick though.
It is no longer limited to natural predators.
Kyber's now got Ultimate Nemetrix Predators. That's pretty freaking sick. That's like upgrade merging with Rex, where it sounds like a cool, plausible idea, but it's not something you'd expect the show to actually do and put those pieces together. But they did do it, and it's awesome. In concept though, I mean the Ultimate Penuncian itself, again, Which Nemetrix alien would you have liked to see an ultimate for? I'm super biased to Hypnotix, so of course that's my choice. You could argue we got an ultimate Terrorantula with Phil, or at least like a more evolved version, I guess. A lot of one-use transformations here, though. There's so much else going on in this episode, you don't really notice. There's plenty of things happening. But when you zero in on Ben, not too much. Similar to Mud is Thicker Than the Water, a lot of Gwen's abilities are being written just using her energy construct. Not a lot of magic being shown off. I love this little electrical effect smacking against Gwen's energy shield. There's even a little ripple too when it passes by. A little blorpity blorp. Hey look, it's the same icons all over again.
Blah, 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 blah.
So now a Galvin can wear glasses sized for a human. We're here now. I loved seeing Pesky Dust come back. Pesky Dust is an alien where, like, if you didn't really know me, you would think I would freaking hate this dude. I feel like a lot of people's perspective on what I do and don't like about the show gets flanderized. Pesky Dust is one of my favorite aliens of the entire franchise. Great design, great power, love having him around, and it was a big surprise seeing him come back after Outbreak.
Aw, man, lame alien.
Little glowing pattern following around him is pretty neat. Though you'd think this would only be here when he's moving around and it'd be a trail that follows behind him. Right now it's just pouring out of him.
Not an Emuina.
And Kyber fears him. Never underestimate the little guy.
This guy will do what this guy does.
Pesky Dust is now voiced by Tara Strong after originally being voiced by Yuri Lowenthal.
I'm going.
Maybe dial back at least one trill or so here and there. Surrounding Kyber with this dreamy, melty energy. Now, this sequence always confused me. Before we really get into it, let's just do an overview. We enter Kyber's mind, he's captured Vilgax, and he's working with the past Tennysons of all characters. We never really saw Kyber interact with them, and then they drive off into space. And I'm not sure what this whole thing was supposed to represent. Derek says this is his worst nightmare, which it does offer an explanation, but I just feel like we don't know enough about Kyber for even that to make sense. Like, why is this his worst nightmare? What does that mean? It's everyone being nice to him, he's successful, he has friends. Although on the flip side, I like the ambiguity of it. Like, it allows you to interpret whatever this is. Like, I don't always like having all the answers. I kind of like that this is just so strange and so weird. Again, mostly just because we barely even know Kyber as a character. So it doesn't make sense. It's not a clear path, but because of how out there it is, I like it, because that's kind of what dreams are. How many dreams have you had that when you wake up just make no sense and you're like, what? How did my mind even come up with this story and put me in this scenario? This is what dreams really are like.
You all did your part. I'm proud of you kids.
Though you can see that the dream is mixing things up. Not only is young Ben drinking a smoothie, which he doesn't like at this age, but it's the new Mr. Smoothie design.
Yeah, we never could have caught Vilgax without you.
I love the effect they got. They got both an echo and a reverb. While it seems like they do similar things, there is a difference. A reverb is just adding space and volume to the voice. The reverberating, you know, it's in the name. Whereas an echo is like repeating the audio there trail. So you can hear both. There's a lot of heavy, wet reverb on here, as well as an echo.
You all did your part. Ben, Gwen, Kyber.
But did the Kyber even know the Tennysons like this enough? I imagine Pesky Dust is also adding his memories to this as well. Because Kyber alone wouldn't be able to come up with this. I don't buy it. So I believe this is also Ben influencing Kyber. We're not just looking into whatever Kyber would naturally dream of.
We never could have caught Vilgax without you.
Look at that, you can see the fan rotating.
Oh, do I get a trophy?
See, like, how is this his worst nightmare? Does he like being a failure? Is his worst nightmare being good at his job?
Here you go, champ. And there's more where that came from.
Gwen runs up to the table, but Max is floating. Just more of that trippy dream inconsistencies.
Tell us where Albedo is taking Azimuth's brain.
That sounds like a line flub, though. He says Azimuth's brain, not Azimuth's brain.
Taking Azimuth's brain.
Think like a Galvin guy. You need a fully stocked laboratory.
I feel like this shot could have been done a little bit better, though. It goes by too fast and it's too still. I would have had the rocks just slowly drifting. Either that or the background moving a little bit. It's just too still for it to really have that super trippy look they were probably going for.
He's in a lab somewhere.
Really great transformation again. Is the ultimate Penuncian really that big? Look at it compared to then. And this was in Upchuck's stomach?
Run!
Look at Rook's holographic arrow thing. Is very transparent. Most of the times we've seen it before, it's solid arrows. Yeah, I guess it is supposed to be giant. All going off on him. Rook's leading it away. Kevin gets on the back. Gwen ropes it down. Time to get wet. But what a way to defeat him. Just fill him up with water so he can't do anything. Gotta hand it to you, no one does it like Ben.
Ultimate my foot.
Excuse me?
Ultimate my foot.
2 laboratories on Earth that would have the material to build a cerebral vortex.
Billions Tower!
I love that we keep coming here and featuring this tower. I mean, imagine having something like this in your city and it not always being a big deal. Look how freaking tiny they are! So now we have another Ultimatrix looking device. Looks different from the last ones, but still about the same idea. He must have built this shit crazy fast, too.
You're too late.
Might just be the color scheme, but it's very Vilgaxian looking tech, too. Is this a reused design from somewhere else? I'm not finding anything so far, but it does look super familiar, doesn't it? Can anyone recognize if this is from somewhere, or it just really fits into that Ben 10 design theory?
With my ultimate evolved superlative brain.
I shall make the universe perfect.
That's his goal now? Has he been saying that? Where the fuck did that come from? Like, there's no way he's ever brought this up before. Like, he's just making shit up as he goes.
That really huge head getting even bigger?
I thought it was getting bigger. I just wasn't sure if they were drawing him weirdly or not. But if you look at how his design started to here, his brain is bigger.
And they call you the smart one.
Sure, you were able to combat her, but I mean, were they not supposed to attack you?
She is the smart one.
You know, Ben, with all this technology, if only you had an alien that can merge with technology.
Troglodyte.
Telekinesis. Okay, that's pretty cool. Kind of wild that an Ultimate Galvin could do this, but you know, humongous or missile hands. It's almost like he copied this move from Gravitac too.
Azimuth's added brain power.
Oh, so he did already absorb Azimuth's brain at this point? I thought we saw it happen on screen. I'm probably misremembering. Okay, so he already has Azimuth's brain now.
Smart enough to... No.
Now I see the universe for what it is.
Now this just feels too fucking random. I'm sorry. I get where they're going. Here, I'll let the scene play out first, then talk about it.
We are all dust.
Bound by one enormous universal force.
Look how his little gun things are triangles for this shot.
Omniversal force continues forever. You would only have not been not unexistent in what could have not now been the past, present.
I gotta see that shit written down. Hold on.
You would only have not been not unexistent in what could have not now been the past, present, and partial future.
Yeah, he's just saying shit.
To create is divine.
So there's a lot of similarities between this and the Lex Luthor scene in All-Star Superman.
I can see the entire electromagnetic spectrum.
Now I see the universe for what it is.
The fundamental forces are yoked by consciousness. Everything's connected. We're all we've got.
We are all dust, bound by one enormous universal force.
And this is how he sees things, all the time.
I think this is how Azimuth always sees things.
His 24 hours of superpowers just ran out.
If only I had the time.
If it wasn't for you, I could have saved the world.
You could have saved the world years ago.
You're right.
My lust for power, it isn't just evil, it's pointless.
Whether or not you read the comic or Dwayne's fantastic movie adaptation of it, which I did a video on, please check that out, link down below. One of my favorite videos on this channel of all time. If you like these breakdowns, you'll like that even more. That video is like breakdowns perfected. But with Albedo's constantly changing motivation right up until this scene, and then this randomly dropped in here, it just doesn't feel like anything led up to this. Like even in the last episode, when he said all of this, like, am I supposed to forget the imprisonment, the humiliation? None of that really mattered to him before that either. And then in the very next line, he was like, yeah, you're right, I don't care about any of this. And here it's the same thing. He's like, I'm gonna perfect the universe. Oh wait, no, never mind. So 2 episodes back to back now, they set him up to have these motivations, which he's never talked about nor cared about before. And then in the episode admits like, yeah, I don't care about this shit either. Just like Albedo's plans right here, they're just making shit up for him. We're not even subverting his character here because he wasn't that kind of character. He wasn't trying to perfect the universe. He didn't care about humiliation. This is all brand new stuff they're introducing just to immediately subvert it. In fact, this whole arc would have made more sense if this was Dr. Psychobos in a way. Give us ultimate Dr. Psychobos or fucking whatever. And Azimuth is stronger than everybody else because he can slip out of this portal. His size should have nothing to do with his ability to escape. Not with a power entrapment like this.
Diggity 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 mambo!
I do like that the direction of the holograms do swap back and forth based on where Azimuth is going. But here you can even see a lot of the icons repeat one after another because they just won't make any new icons.
This one?
It's really cool that we have an episode where everybody's all together. Too much going on for some solid interactions, or the solid red backgrounds for them. I think it was supposed to have this energy, gravity, whatever, entrapment effect behind them. Here they're straight up red. That doesn't look like how it's supposed to be.
You tricked me.
Okay, but what happened to realizing that what you did was wrong and it was evil? If that enlightenment really hit you, you would realize this is the right move and this is what you're supposed to be doing.
You allowed me to glimpse my own folly.
And now I'm evil again, because what else am I gonna do?
Without the shackles of enlightenment, you will know the vengeance.
I mean, it's kind of funny hearing his voice like that, but I'm just sick of this man now. I'm so glad that the ultimate Vaxasaurian decided to attack Ben by using this pillar instead of shooting him with his fucking missile hands. So, like, is this supposed to fit inside him somehow? It's even bigger than him.
You're having better luck with it than me.
And now we get Atomics. It's an alright transformation. You only really see his arm become Atomics. And while the morph itself is good, once his arm transforms, he's already completely transformed into Atomics. But the shot is really nice. Now, I've talked a lot about before how I don't think present Ben having his future aliens is a good idea because it makes them less special. This one's a strange case because, similar to Topic, he was only name dropped. We didn't actually know anything about Atomics, so he really could have been anything, and this was the hole they were trying to fill with him. He's got a ton of fans out there, so he was a well-worthy addition to the show. Although I do wish, at least with his status, he was used a little bit more if they were gonna bust out Atomic. Aside from this scene, the only other time he really got a chance to shine was when he was fighting Malgax, and then he got the shit beat out of him. So this is his pretty much one and only scene to really be Atomic. And I think they did an alright job with him, showing off his power and the spectacle of him. As for his design, I'm still not a fan of robot aliens, at least for a Ben 10 alien. Objectively, it's a pretty cool thing. Like, I don't know, if there was an episode where Ben's Omnitrix wasn't working for the millionth time, and Azimuth built Ben a temporary suit to fight that was sort of modeled after his own suit from Secret of the Omnitrix, this would be an awesome battle suit for Ben, like a cool mech armor. But as an alien,
I am no bug.
I love that his Kirby dots are moving inside of him. I think they move a little bit too fast, though. I wish they slowed this down a little bit.
Atomics!
And one of the rare times that Ben doesn't name one of his own aliens.
Atomics!
Atomics here is voiced by John DiMaggio. His voice is very, like, old school traditional superhero, like, I'm coming to help you! I think they just really wanted to do something different. Ben's got so many aliens at this point. You're starting to run out of unique voices. But this shot was always great to me. Him deflecting Ultimate Humongosaur with one punch and creates this big disc thing. I had to play tribute to that in 5YL.
Don't try that again.
So his Humana chant right here is confirmed to be inspired somewhat by Goku's Kamehameha wave chant, where he goes like Kamehameha. He's another thing about the show that I just really didn't care for when he first came out, and now I'm just old and I don't give a shit. This show has worn me down to the bone. You can have him turn into frickin' Mickey Mouse of all cases. And if they got a season 10, I wouldn't be surprised if he really did. But it's unique and it's different, and I feel like that's important for an alien too. We can certainly say Ben has never turned into anything like Atomics before, so it's memorable. Here comes Ultimate Spider Monkey.
Fizzle whistle!
So was this his Fizzle Whistle? Because he said it afterwards, or is he saying Fizzle Whistle and whatever he's about to do is the Fizzle Whistle? I'm gonna assume the Fizzle Whistle was this and he just said it late.
Cousin, shield the others!
I believe this was setting a standard where Atomics addresses people in his relationship to them.
Grandfather, keep him safe! Cousin, shield the others!
Interesting solution. He kicks them out into space in order to keep them safe from the battle. Supposed to imply like being around Atomics himself is too dangerous, or whatever this mysterious energy is. But regardless, it would have been nice if they participated in this final beatdown too. I mean, look, we got a pretty stacked cast right here. They could participate a little bit more, you know? Of all their Omniverse appearances, this is the first time it felt like they were just along for the ride. I did feel some power in that chant though. That was pretty cool. Although this effect right here, it would have been great if the trails themselves were the Kirby dots. So I'm surprised they didn't go too hard on the lighting. Ovi's usually really good with their lighting choices and the way it affects the characters and the environment. Maybe it's just because it's broad daylight.
Nuclear winner!
And of course he had to survive because he's on Cartoon Network, but I mean, not even any battle damage. Sure, he defeated Albedo, but all of this stuff blowing the roof off of everything, and Albedo looks exactly the fucking same. And look at this, he turns back to Ultimate Albedo first, then regular Albedo. So is regular Albedo now the default form? Is he no longer Human Ben? Based on what we know, if we were being consistent with all the rules it set up, he would turn from Ultimate Spider Monkey to regular Spider Monkey to Teen Ben. Or if anything, if this was the new default, he would turn from Ultimate Spider Monkey to Spider Monkey to just regular Galvin Albedo. He wouldn't go to this form first. This is just a weird sequence of events right here. And look, everyone else is back from space. How was it up there?
We almost passed out from the altitude.
Let us get Asmus' brain back before Albedo wakes up.
See, Rook knows how to say it. They're very lucky that the machine is also unharmed and usable too.
Pull my finger?
And he's just on the floor. Did him getting his brain back blow up the machine? And if it was that violent, why is everybody else fine? We spent all the care on the visuals on the Ultimates. Now it don't matter, I guess.
As long as your brain is back, I have a question.
I have a whole video on my thoughts about this. I scripted it with Ryan way back in the day, so I'm not gonna get into it. But I will at least say here, it also feels kind of random to bring this up too. What prompted Ben to drop this question on him? Sure, the fans have been wondering it for a bit, but God, is this really the time for it?
With the old Omnitrix controls, I got whatever alien I wanted.
This is referring, of course, to the Alien Force Omnitrix before they tried hacking it, because post-hacking it, and with the Ultimatrix as well, it was mistransformations galore. Like I said, we already covered all of this, so let's just skip ahead a little bit.
Hello?
Okay, so now he's taking the Omnitrix off of him now, and he's not transforming back. I think he's okay now. He officially doesn't have to be stuck as Ben Tennyson anymore. But Azimuth is like, you know what would be hilarious?
Looks like it could run forever.
We are hearing some classic series Omnitrix sound effects for Albedo's Ultimatrix, though.
Looks like it could run forever.
Hear that? And he barely does anything. He just goes boop, boop, boop. And Albedo's awake and he's fine. So like, can Ultimate Spider Monkey just tank explosions like that? What else has he gone up against? Siphon was beating the shit out of him for a bit, but he did easily take down by Valvin. Driscoll he struggled a little bit with, but got him. He got Mazaru and survived a fall from space against Maul Vreedle. Dream Sequence doesn't count. And when fighting Forearms, the thing that really took him down was Argit's Quills, which is nuts. So even though Atomics did get the better of him, Argit's Quills had a lot more lasting effects on Albedo than Atomics' nuclear winner. So Argit can take out Ultimate Spider Monkey, a Toku Star, Flashback Kevin, a wave of Echo Echoes. Is Argit the most powerful being in Ben 10?
I just had my proto truck overhauled, and I will be seeking restitution.
And he's right too, because it just did get destroyed on Planet Koros with Kevin, so that must be super frustrating for him.
No sign of Kyber or his pet.
So we're short a bad guy.
Are these wheels supposed to have Omnitrix symbols on them? I think so.
My stabilizer.
Wait, so stabilizer, like he needs it to stay a Galvin? Because Asmith straight up took it off of him and he was able to remain in that form.
No, not this again.
Oh, Asmith.
The hormones.
Sorry, Albedo. Bondage nights with Asmith are over.
What could be worse than being transformed into a 16-year-old Ben Tennyson?
And that is the last time we'll ever hear Yuri Lowenthal voice Albedo, because...
Oh, man.
I really should have done the aw man counter. I think it's damn near every episode. Now check this out. If Albedo didn't mean to turn into this, does this count as a wrong transformation? Although now this is his new default form, so is it even a transformation? It's a weird area. But this skin does look a lot like one of his alternate costumes for Young Ben in Punch Time Explosion XL. If anyone remembers playing that game. You can catch me playing that in the Rust bucket. I'll link that down below. Pretty fun game. You'll notice Kid Ben also has his own unique hair for Albedo. It's still not just a complete recolor. Now I want to share my thoughts about Albedo being turned into an 11-year-old, but I don't really care that much. I just think it was more interesting when he was a parallel of Ben, but now with the age difference, he's super far removed from his own original self as well as being Ben's clone, because he's a different color and a different age with a different power set, far from where he originally started as just a parallel of Ben.
Is this your game?
Okay, so thankfully this was a major step up from last episode. Though it still didn't really hit the mark. I'm only gonna give this a 2 in a plot, though I feel like it does better in the other category, so hear me out. So with Albedo, if you're gonna do whatever you want with the character, him trying to steal Azimuth's brain is a pretty interesting angle. And it was intriguing seeing Azimuth act very out of character, but for an on-purpose plot-related reason. We got a ton of new ultimates in this episode, which is pretty cool, really playing around with the going ultimate concept in a way that I don't think we ever got with Ultimate Alien. Using pesky dust as the solution to go into Kyber's mind and deduce where Albedo is was also a great choice. Flexes on Ben's problem-solving attitude. Even if it was a mistransformation, he was able to make the most of it. Actually would have been dope if Ben stayed pesky dust and maybe battled Albedo too. Like he was also transported to that space background for Albedo inside of his head, I imagine. It was probably just a visual thing, you know, it wasn't literal, but maybe pesky dust inside of Albedo's mind, they could have helped transition Albedo's realization about his evil ways a little bit stronger than it just turning on like a switch and then being dropped in the episode and ultimately going nowhere. So while it's a step up from the last episode, it was packed with fantastic spectacle. The plot itself isn't what makes this episode great. Characterization has a bit of an improvement. I will give it a 3. Y'all already know my thoughts on Albedo, but I do think Ben was written pretty well in this episode, as well as the rest of the main cast. Every time they brought back Kevin and Gwen into the series, it's been fantastic. They really didn't have much to offer being here at all. Max as well, and even Rook. Everybody there all kind of served the same roles, supporting the plot line. One of them could have easily filled the roles that everybody else was there. It could have been just Ben and Max, just Ben and Rook, just Ben and Gwen, just Ben and Kevin, and it would have played out pretty much the same. So while I love having that cast of characters, it was great having them all together for this story. They didn't have as much to offer as any of their other appearances. This was probably their weakest return to the series so far. Kyber's nightmare, or so to speak, I feel like it's not really fair to even call it that because we only get that from the statement. Inside the episode, there's nothing that tells you this is supposed to be Kyber's worst nightmare. I think it's neat because it does offer us a little bit more into Kyber, who is not really a well-developed character despite being around for 4 seasons now. So the characters here, everybody was just fine. Nothing more, nothing less. Visuals, though, absolutely gets a 5. Scaling inconsistencies aside, we had so much in this episode, jam-packed with new ultimates, great concepts. Atomics gets unlocked. We battle across space. We battle across Bellwood. So many great things visually in this episode. And with it being the Series 4 finale and an arc built around it, a 5 in importance is necessary as well. And we can continue that with a 5 in entertainment too. All my criticisms of this episode aside, it is a very entertaining episode. I could throw this one on and have a good time with it. I'm sure a lot of people can as well. So we're rounding season 4 ending with a 20 out of 25, a great score to end the series on. Season 4 ended on a pretty good note, and I think that's what makes the Albedo arc very memorable. So let's move on to the final thoughts. All right, I got some final thoughts, I got some poll recaps, and I got the polls for the rest of the year, so let's get through this. My first thought is how Ben defeated Albedo by pulling that lever on his machine, but the machine didn't get destroyed or anything. In fact, they ended up using that machine just afterward to transfer Azimuth's intelligence back to him. So my question is, couldn't Albedo just flip the switch again and then return all of that intelligence back to him? Not that I want him to win or anything, but just because he turned the machine off, that doesn't really stop him from succeeding. He just accepted defeat and started wailing on Ben and lost. Are you sure Azimuth didn't fire you, dude? Also, when I was ranting about Ultimate Spider Monkey, I forgot to bring up his fight with Sunder, but he was doing alright against him, but the fight went unfinished since Ben timed out before it can continue. And I can't believe it took me this long to mention it, but the tanks in Omniverse are based on an Ultimate Alien toy, and there's actually 2 different variations of the tanks. And now it's time to finally evaluate that last batch of polls. The first one was pretty split down the middle, with only 6% of those who voted more on the side of Gwen having a crush on Kevin growing up, rather than developing one in the future. That's pretty understandable. It is a very divisive topic, so this speaks for itself. But the next one I expected to be more divisive, but 75% of folks who voted did like Mud is Thicker Than Water more than Automotives. I thought Automotives was still a pretty entertaining episode, but maybe Lucy's appeal is just that much stronger. Speaking of Lucy, 83% of people would have wanted her to appear more. She definitely seemed like a character with a lot of potential, and bare minimum could have served as one of the nameless background plumbers, but I feel like there's an episode or 2 out there in Omniverse that we could sacrifice to bring another Lucy episode back in. Another surprising result, 84% of people voted for Kevin's green car over the blue one. I always hear about people enjoying the blue car more, or at least respect its uniqueness, but similar to my thoughts on the plane, I guess you just can't beat that nostalgic feel. And finally, 49% of people never even heard of Gorvin until Omniverse. And while he wasn't the most popular character out there during his relevant era, I still feel like he had a notable presence in the fandom where at least half of y'all must have heard of him, and by these polls, it seems like I was right. And y'all know how much I love my polls recently, so I'm gonna close this out with 5 polls to round off the end of the year. The first one's the obligatory voting for your favorite Rust Bucket 3 design. This one I am pretty curious to see the results of. The second is voting for your new favorite Omniverse Ultimate transformation. The third, now that we've completed 4 arcs of Omniverse, which one has been your favorite? The fourth, do you like the idea of Albedo transforming into a kid? And for the last one, this is based off of Derek's statement that Atomics is Ben's second most powerful alien behind Alien X. Do you feel like he's worthy of that spot? Let me know what you think in the community tab when this video goes live. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your year. It might be a bit before you see me again. So in the meantime, do us all a favor and make sure to keep it fizzy. Big thanks to Andrew Analik in the ink cartridge tier and Elizabeth Susan in the ink barrel tier. Your contributions greatly help the future of our projects, and we appreciate having you as a part of the community.